I think I've just discovered the best 1/32 scale Sherman tank to go with your playsets. Or did I? Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. This is Paul Knapp coming to you once again from the Man Cave, and I've just discovered this new Ray semi-model, semi-toy kit that says right on the box 1/32 scale. So we're going to see how this compares to the other 1/32 scale Sherman tanks and find out exactly what is 1/32 scale. So guys, I was in Hobby Lobby yesterday and I came across these World War II tanks, M4A3. It says exactly there, 1/32 scale. It is kind of a model kit. However, New Ray is known for being more toyish, more plastic than model. Nothing to really glue. You just put a couple screws in and it's all together. So they make several of these, but this is the M4A3 Sherman, and I'm saying that it is 1/32 scale. So we're going to see how this lines up in comparison to, say, the BMC and CTS and other brands. So before I go ahead and build this kit, I just want to run through a few tanks that I have in my collection. Now, I'm sure we're all familiar with this tank. Growing up as a kid, this was the Marks tank that came with most of their Battlegrounds, Iwo Jima, Guns and Navarone. So if you had any of those sets, you're familiar with this. And growing up as a kid, I always thought that was 1/32 scale. I didn't know any better. I assumed that the figures were that big and the tank was that small. But you know, as I got a little older, you know, watched a lot of war movies, you realize, yeah, Marks didn't make things to scale, especially their vehicles. So. But it was great as a kid, especially, you know, 8, 9, 10 years old. You didn't know better. So you can see in comparison right there, a Marks Marine, which we consider 1/32 scale, how small that tank really is. Later on, when CTS came around, they gave us this, and I was just amazed. I thought for sure we finally got a Sherman tank that's 1/32 scale. Now, put in our Marine here again, and you can see better. Definitely not as small as the Marks original tank. However, the figure I have on top here is 1/35 scale, and even he is a little big for this tank. So most people will say this tank is probably 1/48 scale. I'm not sure exactly, but it's definitely not 1/32 scale. But I think in the late 90s, when I started collecting these again, or early 2000s, this was it. So I went with this. I collected a lot of CTS tanks and just went with, that's the closest thing we could have got to 1/32 scale. Later on in my collecting days, I came across Airfix, and this was a awesome tank. And I tell you what, when you put that up against the Marks figure, you could almost say that was probably, at the time, the best, at least to me. I didn't know Airfix when I was growing up as a kid. I only had Marks, so to me this was brand new. This is a reissue tank. It did have wheels on the bottom, so it did roll. And when I put that next to my figure, I was like, this has got to be what 1/32 is. So you tell me, guys, what do you think about the Airfix Sherman tank? And just when I thought I knew what 1/32 scale was, this company called BMC came out with this. And this baby is huge. This is probably the largest Sherman tank I've seen. And then I was totally confused. I wasn't sure what 1/32 scale was or is. Is this 1/32 scale? Is this better suited for 56 millimeter, which was King and Country size, apparently? and they just kept that and said this was 1/32 scale. I'm not sure. We can see it next to the Airfix, and you can tell definitely bigger than the Airfix tank. So I'm going to go ahead and put together the model. The company is called New Ray. And again, it is a hard plastic. It's not soft plastic like these two, but it is a toy. So I'm going to put it together and see, is it closer to the Airfix or is it closer to the BMC? Okay, guys, so here it is, all complete. And it's a good thing I didn't film myself making that, because that was a pain. The only directions they give you are strictly pictures. Only had 8 small screws and 3 large screws, but that's an hour of my life I'm not going to get back putting this thing together. But it's nice, nice detail. All green, obviously. Has Hurricane written on the side, USA, and the star. However, size-wise, well, let's check it out. Okay, so it's definitely bigger than the CTS tank. So we're definitely bigger. I mean, not by a whole heck of a lot, but if you see it up close, you can tell it's definitely bigger than the CTS tank. However, it's not as big as the Airfix tank, which means it's nowhere near the size of the BMC tank. So you're looking at somewhere between CTS at 1/48 scale, if that's what it is, to, if Airfix is true, 1/32. It's still smaller than the Airfix. Now, I'm not sure of my tanks if the M4A3 is actually supposed to be smaller than these other tanks, that the other Shermans. I'm not sure what the Sherman number is on these. But, you know, if we're just looking at a generic Sherman tank, well, you can cross off the CTS. I think BMC is probably the size you want if you're doing larger figures like 56 millimeter. In other words, TSSD and Conte. You probably want to go with this one on your dioramas. You can get your hands on some of these Airfix ones. I think they're the best, honestly. Between that and this, you're looking at soft plastic versus hard plastic. If you don't care about color, you're going to paint them up anyway. Leave me some comments, guys. Let me know what you think. Okay, guys, so one final look at this New Ray. Again, it is New Ray. I bought this at Hobby Lobby. Ran about $16. You can get them on sale for $13, I think. It does say 1/32 scale, so I'll be putting the second one together. But in comparison, now I know there's other tanks out there, but I was trying to stay away from metal, you know, King and Country, the big stuff, you know, stuff that's going to be really expensive. So I just went with our plastic ones that most people can get their hands on. BMC, obviously, you can find those. I think they run about $13. Airfix, not sure if you can find these anymore. This is a reissue. You can definitely get your hands on these New Ray ones, and CTS for sure. I like the detail on CTS, but it is definitely smaller. So, and of course, you know, for you vintage guys out there, this is the one we always wanted, right? So you guys pick and let me know what you think. But I just did a simple comparison study of my Sherman tanks that I have, and hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and as always, keep on collecting.